This person made a YouTube video twisting my words.
Girl, let me stop you right there. Didn't nobody twist your words. You just didn't like the way your words sounded when people read them out loud. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to leave a comment just to help me on the algorithm, but you don't know what to leave, just leave a knife. Because as you can see, they are already coming for my neck. You know they're going to come for my neck again. You might as well leave me a couple of knives. Okay, you guys, I want to respond to this guy, Jesse, bit by bit for you guys in the story that he posted about me, which he blocked me, but I want to respond to this, and then I want to show you guys actual proof of what a monster Rose Montoya is, because video proof has been provided to me. Even though I'm not sure you guys are ready for it, I am going to share it on this video, but let's address this first.
This person made a YouTube video twisting my words. I was trying to be clear that Rose gaslit me the entire relationship.
Well, clearly it didn't come out that way. Actually, the way it came out in what you said was like you were disappointed in yourself because somehow you didn't finish for her, which I don't know what finish means to a trans man. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I don't know what finish means when it comes to a trans man. I still don't know what it was she supposedly did to DV or SAU. So when you don't give up that much of the story, don't get mad at somebody for not knowing that part of the story.
I was being essayed for nearly a year on a regular basis.
Maybe I'm too old to understand the way these kids get down, but how do you not realize that you're being essayed for a year? How does that not occur to you? Because I thought essay was pretty clear. Anybody feel free to let me know down below in the comments, but I'm not figuring this out yet.
I was being very accommodating and considerate of her feelings in the emails. It took me a long time to process that the person who I thought that I loved or thought that loved me R-worded me. I couldn't even say the R word at this point in my recovery.
Okay, has anybody else noticed, if you've been watching from the beginning, we have gone from DV to SA to now full-on R word. That makes me feel like you're being a little bit manipulative right now. Like maybe you knew this word wasn't getting the effect you wanted, that word wasn't getting the effect you wanted, so now we've graduated to the biggest one of all, so that hopefully that has the intended effect. And the way that you're looking angry right now, away from the camera, makes me feel like you're the kind of person that would boil over if something went down. And if I'm also being 100% honest, just by looking at your body, I would imagine that you're probably on a little bit more than what would be considered a maintenance amount of testosterone. I am on testosterone as well, and I am not yoked like you.
I'll have what she's having.
And I can go to the gym and I can eat right and I do get very cut, but you are jacked. Lifting what, over 300 pounds on bench press? I think I saw on your TikTok.
Oh, you're so strong! Ugh.
I say that because what you have to understand is that whether you're dealing with a male or a female body, when you amp up the testosterone to that level, you can have roid rage as a side effect. So for all I know, you were busting shit up in the apartment or the house or wherever you guys lived. I don't know, you're throwing around words like DV, SA, the R word, but you don't want to say what it actually was. Maybe that's because your hands weren't completely clean in this either. And I understand that in your story, which I still haven't seen yet, I just read it on that Redux article that I read for everybody, but I understand that you were recovering from surgery. Your phalloplasty was what you were recovering from, and you said you couldn't walk. You said you also didn't have options to live anywhere else, which tells me that you were probably living rent-free. And I hate to break it to you, but if we're really doing the woman-man thing, a man should not be living off a woman. And if you claim to be a man, you should have got off your ass, figured out what you were going to do for where you were going to live, since apparently you were being SA'd and R-worded the entire time. And I know some people are going to feel like I'm not treating this with enough respect, but I don't feel like this person is treating their own situation with enough respect. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I feel like this person is trying to pull a mass manipulation right now and is upset because instead of me just going along with what he said like everybody else has, I I was like, okay, let me really look into this. And let me give you guys a different point of view that might illustrate for you guys why I think the way that I do when it comes to situations like this. One, you are asking me to use my platform to ruin a person's entire life. I've already stated, I do not like Rose. Even though I don't like somebody though, I am not going to use my platform to say that I think somebody did something that I don't have any proof they did, and I don't even have a story that I've heard where I can say, yes, I do actually believe in my heart of hearts that this has happened. So since you didn't provide it, I tried to find it. I was like, okay, let me look through the email that he sent her, which you scrolled through really fast. And let me also freeze frame really quick a couple other things that you had in your message box to her that maybe you didn't pay attention to, but it seems kind of like Crazy X situation. That's what it looks like from looking at that, if you ask me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'm not going to count on you to clear it up because you have a problem using your words. You couldn't even say the R word for however long, but you want to act like that's everybody else's problem and not something going on with you. That's how I feel like maybe you're gaslighting, because I know what my intentions are, and really my intentions were at first when I got hit up about the original video, I was like, okay, let's see what you're talking about. I didn't get anything from that video. I'll talk about Lene at the end of this video. I have words for Lene. I also have words for your other friend. But for right now, we're on you. But I went looking through your TikTok on that story that I found on your TikTok. It said 1 of 30. And I joked about 1 of 30. What are you talking about? But really, you took down the others. And that's what somebody ended up saying on one of your threads. They were like, he took down the rest of the stories. I guess because people were giving you a hard time. It said something like that, I think, that somebody had been negative about it. But I don't really know if people were being negative, because it seems like you're defensive when people have questions. But as I've already stated, if you're taking it to the court of opinion and the jurors, us, say, I've got these questions, you should be quick to answer those questions. If you are a juror, you can ask to see evidence again, just so you can clarify, because in the moment you may have forgotten some things. And so when you're deliberating, you can call for them to bring evidence back in for you to re-examine. For a while, I worked for a lawyer. I was teaching him stand-up. There was this project that he had, and I would spend up to 40 hours a week in his office. And I put office in quotes because he worked from home. He was very successful, and he had a team that worked with him at home, but I would hang out with them all day, every day. And he taught me about the way that they prepare people to be on the stand is by questioning them the way the other side is going to question them when they're being cross-examined. So that's the way I look at these things in a lot of cases. I'm like, okay, this person obviously is trying to build a case or thinks they have built a case. So let me go ahead and poke at this a little bit and see if I can get some actual answers. Because if you take it to anybody bigger than me, you guys hit up Buck Angel, you hit up Blair White, and you hit me up. Of all of us, I have the smallest following. Mine is at 47,000 right now. Thank you, everybody. If you're watching, please do subscribe. Blair's is over 1 million. Buck's is over 100,000. So when you've got that kind of firepower at your fingertips, and all you have to do is provide us with some actual details so that we can substantiate this and then move forward and help you out with what it is you're trying to do and get your story out. But instead of doing that, you turned it into a victimization.
She did not deserve the grace that I gave her. I was still under her mental control.
See, even that, what do you mean under her mental control? Can you please help us out with some of this and stop being so vague while at the same time trying to make it seem like you're really leveling charges? If you really feel like it was that bad and you're trying to save other people, and this isn't just about internet clout, which I maintain at this point, it is about internet clout. If it's not about that, then why don't you let us know?
I was brainwashed, and he is twisting my words, even though she fully admitted to forcing herself on me.
In case you didn't catch it in the first video when I said it, Jesse, if this really went down the way that you said it went down, it is the police that you should be going to on this, because you are still within the statute of limitations. That is 10 years. You say this happened 5 years ago, so you can actually do something about this since you claim to have the smoking gun in that email. You're telling me that this is your actual proof, that this is beyond a shadow of a a doubt proof that she did these things. But instead of telling me, you should be telling the police if you really do feel that way. But I think we both know that it's not as cut and dry as that, and the police are going to say that, and a judge might say that, and a jury might say that, but run it by, see how far it goes in the channels. Don't bug me with it, because I asked you some questions and you don't want to answer. So how much farther am I supposed to take it? Was I just supposed to believe you because you said it? Was I supposed to hear no details and just be like, yeah, that guy Jesse that I've never met in my life, never even heard of until this was brought to my attention, but I'm supposed to take their word as gospel and go on this public lynching with them? And I didn't twist your words. I actually took a long time, and I'm not even exaggerating a little bit. If anybody knows anything about editing, what I had to do was I had to scroll frame by frame to get his original email that he sent to her, and then I had to do a freeze frame on that every couple of seconds so that you guys could read it as we were going along. This is how determined I was not to twist anybody's words, is that I went ahead and ran them on the screen next to me. If you remember the way that I did that, that took me sitting there and having to freeze frame it just so that I wouldn't get anything wrong. And then I read it to you guys as I was actually reading it word for word. So I didn't twist your words. You just didn't like the way your words came out.
And violating me. I do not want to have to go over the details again of how painful everything was.
Well, if you just left your videos up, I could have watched those. Anybody could have watched those if you went into detail on those. But I'd imagine you took them down for some reason. They probably didn't say exactly what you would change the story to be. And you're like, okay, I'll just put this out there, and these dummies will all jump on the SJW train and run out there and tell everybody that this went down the way that we said it went down, just because they don't like Rose. And you're right, I don't like Rose. But you have to remember that we have to be careful what we say anyway, because there could be legal ramifications if we say the wrong thing. So you think I want to deal with legal complications because you don't know how to tell a story, or because 5 years later you got a case of the hey yas and now all of a sudden you realize things were a different way than you thought they were at the time, which I would maintain means that they weren't what you're saying they are now. When people come back 5 years later and they're like, wait a second, I think I was, how about you just leave it 5 years in the past? How about you just move on like a healthy adult? Almost every relationship I've been in has at some point had a moment where I could be like, this was abusive, or that person was verbally or mentally abusive. I've had situations where I was with a partner and they asked me to do something for them in the sexual way, and I said no, and they were like, come on, and I was like, no, and they were like, come on, and then I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that right now because we're gonna be late for dinner and we've got plans. I might suck your dick real quick, but you better quick because we're in a hurry. And then the next thing you know, I'm giving a reluctant job, which I'm not even joking when I say that, but you could say that that's a form of SA or that's coercion. But instead, I just look at it as having been a part of my relationship at that time. And I'm not gonna, because I ended up breaking up with that person and maybe afterwards they said a couple things about me that I didn't like, I'm not gonna all of a sudden turn that into I should ruin their life. Get a hold of yourself. If you're gonna do all the garb and cosplay a man, behave like a man.
Please, can you block him and not watch the video?
So after you and your friend were telling everybody that Rose must be guilty because she was blocking everybody, now you're telling everybody to block me and not see another side of the story. Seems like you might be the person that's starting all the shit. So I don't apologize for anything I said. I'm actually glad I said it because it brought out a side of you that I needed to see to make my decision. And I personally think that you're everything you're saying Rose was. I also have to say that Rose doesn't have clean hands either. A video has surfaced that shows what a monster Rose is, given by the second accuser. I still don't remember his name. He's just not a memorable enough personality. I swear, all these people want internet clout, but they're not compelling enough personalities to really pull it off. And again, I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. I'm just telling you guys what I notice as a consumer of internet content. Neither of these people have the charisma it takes. Rose may be full of shit, but she's got charisma. But the second accuser did produce an actual video that shows everybody what a monster Rose was. So I'm going to show that to you guys really quick, and then I'll read the caption that he included with it. But I'm going to warn you, if you're squeamish, you don't want to watch this video. If you might get triggered, you don't want to watch this video. It's bad. He came with the receipts. If you have kids, please ask them to leave the room.
Loving me while I lacked boundaries and resenting me once I began to wasn't love, no. It was using me.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I've made a huge mistake. She's clearly a horrible monster. She attacked you with kisses that way? Again, these people don't need to be in relationships. I'll read you guys the caption, and maybe some of you are sympathetic to this, but to me, it's like, let me just read the caption and then we'll talk. Okay, so the caption was, everyone thought your affection was cute, but as an autistic low-touch capacity, your affections were punishment, and you knew it. You used my lack of touch as your permission to take it. Maybe if you can't handle being attacked with kisses, you're not meant to be in a relationship. Because I'll tell you, if I'm with somebody that in the course of our relationship, possibly even weekly, sometimes maybe even daily, doesn't attack me with kisses like that, I don't want to be in that relationship. Just like if I don't attack you with kisses like that, I don't love you. That is one of the ways that I do show affection. Some of the guys I'm with, I'll be honest, I'm so in love with them, I'll kiss them all over their face, grab their face and just mwah, mwah, mwah. So if that's now going to be considered a part of SA, count me out. And different levels of affection work for different people. And I think what we're noticing here is we have two people in Jesse and this other guy that just don't know how to use their words. And also might not know what words mean. Because I come from a simpler time. When if you got R-worded, you knew you got R-worded. If you got SA'd, you knew you got SA'd. And even the term DV can cover a lot of things. DV doesn't always come out to a person striking another person. Sometimes it's property damage within the home. That's a form of DV. Even that's too big of an umbrella. So why are you getting all of us involved when you guys clearly aren't emotionally mature enough to even be in relationships? What I think is both of you, if you're still having trouble with a relationship that has been done for 5 years now or more, and you're still concerned with it in any way, maybe stay out of relationships. Maybe you guys aren't built for it. So then Jesse, trans jock, blocked me on Twitter because he couldn't handle that I didn't agree with him. And now we'll get to the person that I do owe an apology to. Well, there's a couple of people I owe an apology to. One, you guys. Because really with Lene's video, when I played that and the original one, I should have sped it up or edited out the pauses. I thought it was fun for you guys to see my frustration in watching that thing since I was recording my natural reactions at that time. And I thought in order for you guys to understand why I got so frustrated, you would have to see how slow she was talking. And I know that I can be an impatient person, so there was also a part of me that felt like, let me run this against my audience and see if it's as slow and annoying as I think it is, or if I'm just being bratty and impatient like my mom always tells me. So many of you guys agreed with it, and I have to admit, your guys' comments were really making me laugh. Like, I was laughing really hard at the number of people that were just as frustrated as I was. But on a human level, once Lene hit me up, I'll read you guys Lene's comment that she left on the video, and then I'll respond to that. So this is what she put. Ty, you totally roasted me, LOL. But I still appreciate you featuring my video. I still struggle with my voice, my appearance, and my body dysmorphia, especially while on camera. This is one of the reasons why I'm not on social media as much. There is so much I would like to improve on, but my resources are limited as of right now. My apologies for the wardrobe change. These parts were recorded at different times. Perhaps my delivery was not the best. I will definitely work on polishing up on my presentation skills. All of my life I've been made to feel like I was not good enough, and I am still trying to heal from this. I've been told that I am naturally somewhat of a reserved and soft-natured person. The articles online do go into more detail of how Jesse was allegedly abused by Rose for over a year while recovering from his surgery. I heard that Rose is blocked blocking everyone who is asking her about this and continues to not say anything. If these trans guys have not already done so, they need to contact law enforcement and file a lawsuit. Jesse has also shared some more details with me since I released this video. No hard feelings, Ty. I am still a subscriber. Please stay safe, everyone. Thank you for the LOL and being fun about the fact that I did roast you, because that was what was going on. I was having a bit of fun, but it was meant at the same time in a good-natured way. At first, I misread you. We'll get to that in a second, but I appreciate you. I really appreciate you being a subscriber. I will subscribe to your channel as well. I look forward to seeing you grow, and understand that at the beginning, we all hate ourselves as far as having to watch ourselves and hear our voices and edit ourselves. I too am a body dysmorphic. I've talked about that quite a bit. My voice somewhat gets on my nerves, but at this point I've learned to love it because I never meet anybody that has a voice that sounds even really close to mine. And I know it's nasally and whatever else, but at this point I like my voice. And your appearance, there's nothing to worry about there. You're a good looking girl. There's nothing wrong with you in that way. Don't give yourself a hard time about that. But one thing I want to tell you about recording content before I move on is that when you record and edit yourself enough, you will start to love yourself more and more, or at least that's what it's done for me. And it's taken a minute, but really I've just become more and more of a fan of myself. And I don't mean that in a egotistical way. It's just there comes a point where you have to be like, if I don't like me, then why should anybody watching like me? So when you look at things in those terms, then you start to be a lot more forgiving with yourself, and then you start to find things you like about yourself. And on that road, and even to this day, sometimes I'll wear things where I'll be like, you never need to wear that shirt again, or that looks stupid. I notice verbal tics. It's made me a better speaker, and so all the way around, it's better. And then sometimes you will struggle with moments where you're a little bit low on self-confidence. Like sometimes I won't shoot or upload a video for a couple of days because there will be a part of me that feels like maybe nobody wants to hear me today, or maybe my thoughts are stupid, or like I'll think things like that. It's just a part of, I think, being human, unless you're a sociopath. But I think if you're, you know, a decently well-adjusted human, you will have moments of self-doubt and feel like maybe nobody wants to hear you. And so you're not alone is what I'm saying, but just keep doing what you're doing. And I want to tell you a little story about myself, and maybe that'll give you some inspiration. I prepared something. Once upon a time, there was a little black girl in the Brewster Wait a second, that's the beginning to Supermodel by RuPaul.
I have one thing to say. You better work.
No, what I was gonna say is I halfway joke in the way that I handle things when it comes to people like you, but I've been doing this for 10 years. So sometimes I forget all of us aren't as used to that. So when I play with a person like you and I'm being silly and I'm roasting, I forget that sometimes people aren't as thick-skinned as I am. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing at all. I'm saying that it's taken me, well, I would say like maybe 5 years in, I got pretty like, these people don't know anything. The trolls, the negative ones, really don't know anything. They're never good people or anybody that you would stop to talk to on the street. That's why they spend all their time saying terrible things to people online. And even though I wasn't saying terrible things to you, I did think you'd be able to play with it. Also, since you're a trans woman, and I know that I shouldn't just assume this about people just based on the way they identify or their orientation or their gender, any of that stuff. I know I shouldn't, but a lot of times because I've hung out with so many very strong trans women, I always assume that every trans woman is as self-assured as my friends have been. So my bad on that. I do apologize if it came off harsh at all. I wasn't trying to be mean to you, and I'm definitely not trying to discourage you from creating content moving forward. I actually think with the fact that you're willing to look at things with an objective eye, and you also seem to want to be a service to the community, I do feel like your voice would be welcomed in a space like this. I could tell you were trying to pick your words. I could tell that you were trying not to hurt anybody's feelings. I could tell you were trying to treat it with a certain amount of respect, and it makes you likable. And that's what your audience will love about you. Actually, it was one of the things that I found kind of endearing, to tell you the truth, but I also know that people have to go at their own pace. Like I said, I started 10 years ago, but there were spurts where I would really go at it, and then I'd take a break, and then I'd really go at it, and then I'd take a break. But I've really been working at it for like the last 6 years where I've really just been pretty consistent. And there were times when nobody is watching at all, and you will get used to that, you know, unless something just pops at the beginning. I'm not trying to curse you or jinx you, but if you have the trajectory of most people that start to get traction on YouTube, you're going to spend some time just kind of spinning your wheels and feeling like nobody's paying attention to you. And you're creating content and you're editing and you're picking up skills, but no audience is watching you. But you've got to keep the faith, and you just got to keep going. And whatever triggers you have or whatever insecurities you have, you can work on those in the meantime, and you can learn what your angles are, what your lighting needs to be, or how your sound is working out, which your sound was great. You're doing a lot of things right, but just cut out as much of the dead air as you possibly can. When it comes to your resources being limited, I wouldn't worry about that. Any editing software that you're working on, you can delete out the silences. Just delete them out, and yeah, it'll make a little bit of a jump or whatever, but who cares? And sometimes it'll be a bit choppy, but you can make that fun and you can make it part of your style. That's what I do all the time. Sometimes I use too many ums. Sometimes I say a certain word too many times. I notice that I'll have different verbal tics depending on when it is and what it is that's stuck in my head at that moment. And so I'll edit all of that stuff out. You can handle all of that with editing, and you don't have to use an expensive editing software to do it. You can do it on any one of them. It just speeds it up. You have to remember that a lot of people have TikTok brain now, where they're used to things happening fast. And yeah, when you're recording, speak as slowly as you want to speak, be you, all the way you. And then in the editing, that's where the magic can happen. Your wardrobe change did surprise me. I legitimately did look down and was like, wait a second, when did you change your clothes? And that part I understood. I was just having fun with. I also, if you notice, on both of those videos, had costume changes in each one of them. And I could have reshot that and made it look like I was on the same day, but I thought it would be fun to leave it in because it contradicts what I was upset about. And I think the people that were paying attention that closely got it. And I even had a few comments where people were like, as you did a costume change at 6:20, I think 6:20 was the time marker that somebody flagged me on. So don't get in your head about that. We do what we do. You have to record. Nobody's perfect. But I do want to make sure that you get a sincere I'm sorry from me if you felt like I was truly being mean to you. I wasn't. That wasn't my intention anyway. So I do want to make sure that I clearly say I'm sorry. And I know a lot of times when you say I'm sorry, but that seems to negate the I'm sorry to some people. But there is going to be a but, because I have other things that I want to say about your message that I think could be helpful to you as a creator and a person. Because I swear, I have this reputation for being an asshole, and I'm a part of that because I don't want a lot of people to think I'm nice, because when you're nice, people want things from you. But I'm definitely not trying to be a bully or not trying to be mean to people that don't deserve it. There's going to be a couple videos coming up where I'm going to be mean, and I don't care because I think those motherfuckers deserve it, and I'll be honest about that. But anyway, as far as everything else goes, people telling you you're not good enough or whatever else, welcome to the club. And I don't say that in an insensitive way at all. I just say all of us have been shit on a fair amount. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you look like. Sometimes the better looking you are, the more you get shit on, because the world thinks that you need that in order to balance out everybody else being so nice to you. So it's easier said than done. But I always tell people, you have to love yourself more than the internet can hate you. That's the way I see things. I mean, I wear a Trump hat every video. You think I don't get people hating me? This technically is a response to people coming for my neck. Not you, but everything else is responses to people coming for my neck. So don't buy into that you're not good enough. Even though it may have been ingrained in you from a young age. I don't know what your family life was like, or if that was just people in the outside world. But whoever it was that told you weren't good enough, that's not something you have to worry about. You're good enough, believe me. If I'm good enough, you're good enough, because I know me. I'm pretty terrible. So you're not going to be able to match this. Trust me, you're good enough. And I think for me, in the beginning, sometimes people would try to attack me quite a bit online. And with people telling me what they didn't like about me or what they saw as like a visual flaw or whatever, it became sort of like when you have a sibling, you know? I don't know if you had any siblings or if you had a close relationship with your siblings, but I have sisters and I hated those bitches. I really did. Like, I really did hate those bitches. I hated them. Or I thought I hated them. And then we would be at school and somebody would say something crazy to them. And I'd be like, let me step in. This bitch is not going to talk to my sister like that. And I look at when people attack you online sort of the same way. So you might have all these things you don't like about yourself, but then people will start trying to attack you. And then you've got to defend yourself. And you're like, wait a second, let me step in right here. And then before you know it, because you have to be on the defensive, then you start liking more and more about yourself because they'll be like, well, don't you notice this about yourself? And you'll be like, wait a second, maybe I like that about myself. And then that'll start to build you up in a weird way. And then there will come a point where you'll get like me and you'll be like, okay, well, I like myself. So if you don't like me, then just don't be on my channel. And that's why I'm very honest with people. If I find anything to be abusive, I delete it. I don't let you just come on my page and say whatever you want to me. You're not going to address me any way you want to. You're allowed to disagree with me. I fully respect people disagreeing with me. That's part of what the comments are for. If you disagree on the topic, I fully do get that. But if you think you're going to tell me, well, your voice sounds like, or you look like, look, I believe in freedom of speech. You have a right to say it. I also have a right to delete it off my page if I don't want to read it. And so I would honestly say that you should just start working on your channel, because I at first thought you were in cahoots with the other two. And then I noticed you had tried to ask a question and I saw Jessica get defensive with you on TikTok and I didn't think that was fair. And then I saw that maybe you were just trying to actually get the story so you could help relay the information as a service to the community, because I really did think that if SA is happening from a particular person or the R word, then I do feel like that's the kind of thing that it would be a service to tell people from the community, just to put everybody on the alert.
Hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband, because they been everybody out here.
Even if there's nothing that can be done about it legally, you should definitely do that. If it turns out not to be that, then we should know that too and just put it to the side. And that's a part of why I asked the questions that I had and put out the video that I put out, because if I can be of service to the community by letting them know that there's somebody that is exhibiting these type of behaviors, then I am fully open to helping out. I'm not just here being an asshole to be an asshole. It's just I needed more to go on if you wanted me to jump on this bandwagon. I'm not just going to be part of a mob and a witch hunt because you don't like the way your ex treated you 5 years ago. I only found the one article. That's 100% me being honest. I looked a lot. I really did try to research this one. That's why I was so angry at the beginning when Jesse said what he said, because I did my due diligence and I worked with whatever I could find, but there just wasn't a lot out there. They had taken a lot of things down by the time that I got to them, from what I heard. So that's just what it was. But if it was something that happened like with Diddy, we all found out years later all the things that Diddy had been doing, and a lot of that stuff is valid and people did deserve to know that. So future interactions, people can watch him. Also, we can limit our support for him or give him no support at all because of the way that he's abusing his power and his money, which is what we're generating for him when we consume his products. So in that way, I felt like you had the right intentions, and I feel like your voice could be helpful. You're a trans woman of color. We need some level-headed trans women of color.
Anything that I say here today is my personal opinion as a black trans woman, and so nobody can police that.
Out here doing the actual work instead of being like Blossom.
Keep it cute, girl. Keep it real cute.
But we'll talk about her on an upcoming episode. I've talked enough for this one, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is the last video I'll be making about this because these people just don't have it together enough for me to really talk about them. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.